Alright guys, who broke the robot?
Hello everyone, I'm a broken robot. Collectibles. Why have your customers buy one thing when you could have them buy 12 different things separately? While collectibles as a whole have existed since the Roman Empire, I think it's safe to say that around 2018 there was an overall massive boom in collectible sales. Retro movies and video games were the new fad and everyone wanted to buy the plastic to prove that they were a bigger fan than anyone else. We saw things like adult action figures, retro-style models, and other kinds of memorabilia flood the retail market, with stores like Walmart, Target, and Costco even having designated aisles for collectibles. When COVID hit, things got even more crazy. People were scared, things seemed uncertain, and a lot of people were under a bunch of stress. Can you really blame someone for just wanting an action figure that reminded them of a simpler time? In fact, CNBC reported in December 2022 that adults buying collectibles and nostalgia products accounts for 1/3 of the US toy sales. In 2022 alone, Americans spent $9 billion on collectible and nostalgic toys, of which $7 billion of that money came from adults. When the US economy was at its lowest, teenage girls buying Furbies and salty Star Wars fans buying action figures truly helped save companies like Funko, Mattel, and Moose. However, something really strange was happening. Within all fandoms and the overall umbrella of collectors as a whole, there was this small but loud minority of people who would buy products with the intention of one day reselling them for profit. Now, these sorts of collectors have existed since the 70s, with many adults collecting sealed Star Wars action figures and Star Trek merchandise. However, a common misconception is that these early collectors kept their products sealed to resell at a later date. While I'm sure there were some that at a later date would sell these sealed products, many collected sealed items since they enjoyed the product sealed better than loose. Nowadays, people buy sealed products in bulk at the off chance that said collectible or toy will one day appreciate in value. I've also seen collectors that enjoy collecting but are only interested in purchasing items that will one day appreciate in value that they can cash out for a lump sum. As a community, collectors have become less about collecting and more about potential investments. A prime example of this is the trading card fanbase, especially Pokemon and sports cards. Many legitimate collectors of trading cards have been on a blast by a new predatory form of collecting. In 2019 and mid-2022, thanks to a pump and dump scheme from Logan Paul and other scalpers, it became impossible for legitimate fans to find sealed products to open. Additionally, this pump and dump scheme ruined the secondary market, causing it to shift in value. Because hypebeasts and resellers realized that they would have to wait a few years for their sealed products to appreciate, they took advantage of older sets. People trying to flip vintage cards for a profit took to eBay and en masse bought vintage sealed packs. To put it into perspective, a sealed booster pack of Pokemon Fossil Expansion went for about $90 in 2018. $90 is a pretty reasonable price for a sealed Pokemon product that has been out of print for over 20 years. Now today, a sealed pack of Fossil set goes for about $300. This isn't about supply and demand. What happened was these resellers shifted the entire market by listing vintage packs at an exorbitant fee. Then when other sellers, both legit and scalpers, saw this shift in the market, they moved with it, and I can't blame them. Everyone wants to make money. Loose cards are the same way. In 2018, you could buy a holographic Apollyon Level X for $7, but thanks to the artificial price raising, you'll be lucky to find it for as low as $25, which is a lot of money for just one card. Thanks to these overall increases in market value, it's become impossible for legit collectors to be able to collect cards without paying unreasonable fees. But here, to help set my point aside, let's switch to a different fandom. Retro video games is something that has recently been exposed as a scam, and while I couldn't do this topic justice since my fellow YouTubers have already beaten it to death, I'll try to explain things. In 2019, thanks to a mix of mass panic and people yearning for simpler times, retro video games from the N64 and GameCube era suddenly became extremely profitable and wanted. Much like with Pokemon and other trading cards, scalpers and hypebeasts set up predatory businesses on eBay and other accounts on various websites where you can resell products, and did almost the exact same thing that happened to trading cards. Artificial price rises by a few vile sellers lead to the entire market to shift for no reason. To help put things in perspective, a copy of Super Mario for the Nintendo DS went for $12.49 on average in 2018. Today, a copy without case or manual and in poor condition goes for as much as $70. This is insane. The worst issue is that unlike with sealed products, so long as a video game is functional and comes with its box, its value is no different than a brand new, still in packaging version. making it overall very expensive to try and pick up retro video games. An example of how the Fortune 500 companies and the toy manufacturers are adding to this overall collectible downward spiral is Star Wars products. In general, they have been oversaturated for decades. But even before the pandemic, it was in full swing. The Star Wars retail market was almost killed by overproducing products for sale. This ruined the secondary market because no items were considered more valuable than the other. Ever since, Disney and Hasbro has been kicking and screaming trying to jumpstart the Star Wars international property line, with toys and action figures giving off the illusion of collectability, when in reality it's the same plastic garbage we've been buying since the 70s. The main poster child of collectibles as of February 2023 are Funko Pops. These ugly plastic figures have littered the shelves of stores and incel bedrooms for almost a decade now, thanks to their low price and marketability. In 2010, when these plastic and cardboard icons were released, they were seen from a company standpoint as the perfect collectible in terms of profits and fan feedback. The idea was simple. Why have many small collections of pop culture characters and memorabilia when you could have one large collection that includes all the IPs you might enjoy? At first, Funko Pops didn't catch on, but slowly as more and more pop culture icons like Homer Simpson and Max Rebo found themselves in pop form, leading fans from all walks of the internet to get something out of Funko Pops. Now, admittedly, I personally do have a modest Funko Pop collection, and I have drank the Kool-Aid of the secondary market. The main point I'm trying to make from all this is that all the trends that are affecting the Funko Pop market are starting to show in almost every single collectible and toy manufacturer available in North America. Oversaturation, overvalued products, and limited market growth. But first, let me explain. Funko Pops used to release in sets of 5 to 10 figures, with only main characters and popular variations being created. This way, Funko could make money printing characters people wanted to see, and in return, collectors could easily build a massive collection in no time at all. Jump to 2023, and the collectible aisle is teeming with unsold product. This was thanks to Funko overprinting certain pops and in general making too many. It became a logistical and financial nightmare to complete sets now, and it doesn't help that Funko are already so quick to release numerous variations that barely look different from the original. The secondary market wasn't helping the pop fan base either. A mix of pandemic desperation and scalping has ruined the Funko Pop secondary market. While in the past years, Funko Pop's values were based on set size, the amount of in a set, and how many pieces were printed of a said pop, but now the Funko fan base, much like with other collectible communities, have artificially overvalued items. But unlike Pokemon cards and Star Wars figures, this overvalue effect has attached itself to the entire secondary Funko Pop market. If you're confused, let me explain. It's believed that this originally took place thanks to eBay sellers trying to make profit off less rare pops. A retail value Funko Pop will cost you on average $12 in the United States. Unlike other collectibles, Funko will print the ever-loving shite out of a common pop to ensure that the demand is met. This means that resellers will sometimes have to sell pops for less than retail value, destroying the purpose of selling them in the first place. Because of this, most common pops that have no business being worth more than $5 are being sold on eBay for up to $30 with zero justification. It's even worse for chase pops. Funko is a brand that thrives and survives off variations, but these variants are never printed as much as the common pops, meaning that while there are some rarity behind them, at no point are they super duper rare to a point where you need to be selling your kidneys for them. Resellers on all types of websites have pushed the narrative that if they're a variant, they need to be worth more and should be priced as such. This was a similar trend that took place in the now famous Beanie Baby craze of the 90s. Only when Beanie Baby started introducing color variants and gimmicks, they began to fall rapidly in value. The oversaturation of the Beanie Baby market helped ruin it, which is almost the exact same thing that's now happening to the Funko market. Which brings me to my final point, which could be applied to all collectible markets and the people trying to resell them on the secondary market. There is no way on God's green earth that you can justify to me that this piece of cheap plastic that was made with child labor in a foreign country is somehow worth $1,000. I don't care if it's the rarest piece of plastic in the world, that price doesn't justify the means or the ends, and this has been a trend in all collectible communities. Too many people think nowadays that just because an item is rare, that its value is automatically high. We are at the beginning of a global recession, for God's sakes, people. Times are tough. It's become harder and harder for Americans to justify spending money on something that serves no purpose other than being cool. And listen, I don't want this to somehow turn into a ranting video where I'm being facetious, but I just want to be honest with you guys. Resellers, the collectible market is going to crash. It is a matter of when, not if. Big companies have noticed this trend and have slowly but surely begun to either make less of an item to sell in retail or sell less for the same price to give the illusion of a deal. The secondary market for collectibles such as sports cards, Funko Pop, Squishmallows, 80 toys, and retro video games are staring down the barrel of a gun they're holding. While I'm sure not all resellers are money-hungry a-holes looking to nickel and dime desperate collectors, these markets have only gotten more and more expensive with time, and unlike the big companies that are usually the last to adapt to changes in a market, these resellers are so delusional, charging outrageous prices that no legitimate fans that know anything about the fan base are willing to pay. And the most poetic part about this whole piece is that most of these resellers won't realize what's going on with the market until it's far too late, and that maybe buying those pallets and pallets of sealed action figures and He-Man lunchboxes you bought might not have been the best investment. Now, as a final note, this is a note to any legitimate collectors that might be watching this video. In fact, I bet it's probably mostly only legitimate collectors that end up watching this video. Do not be afraid. This is not a video to scare legitimate collectors. This is a video warning the people that are trying to ruin these collectible fan bases that you need to cut this SHIT out or else you're gonna get, bit in the butt. These overall market pump and dump schemes do not last forever, and when they do, the only people that benefit from them are the buyers, not the sellers. Those Pokemon cards that are only worth a few cents that you're trying to charge $10 for will eventually drop back down to a few cents, and when they do, the only person that will be left with the bomb is you guys. So, if you're a reseller, knock it off. And if you're a collector, just keep doing what you're doing, things will eventually get better. And with that being said, if you've stuck around this long, I'd like to ask you to like and subscribe. I've been working on this video for a long time. This was a long one in the works. I'm glad I could get it out for you guys. If you haven't already, go check out my last video on King Dice. It's been doing really, really well in the algorithm. And have a great day, guys. Drink some water.